on, guys? It's David here. This is the last part of our strength series where we're looking at the deadlift, specifically the sumo deadlift. This is my favorite lift, so I'm going to hopefully show you guys some of the tips and tricks I've used to be able to progress my deadlift and get to over 3 times my body weight deadlift. So the first thing is going to be mobility. If you don't have the proper hip mobility to be able to get into a good sumo stance, you're going to make the lift way harder than it needs to be. So that is really going to be one of the main parts of this, as well as the technique. Sumo is very technique dependent, and we're going to be looking at some tips for the technique to hopefully get you into a more efficient deadlift. Before we get into the first mobility drill, I want to talk about the most important thing in this video, which is why Sal didn't show up today. He didn't want to get shown up by my deadlifts, so hopefully he'll come back later and redeem himself, but for now, we're going to get into the first mobility drill. We're going to be looking at a hip opener to be able to open up your stance at the bottom of the sumo. So the first thing we're going to do here is find a wall. All you're going to do is go down on all fours. You're going to put your knees and toes out to the side as far as you can. Essentially what we're looking to do is mimic the starting position of a sumo. We're going to brace our core, go down on our forearms, get our back flat. We want to make sure we're not arching and overextending, keeping our core braced like we would in actual sumo. And we're pushing our hips back towards the wall really, really slowly until we start feeling a stretch right in the groin area down here. Essentially what we're doing is opening up this so we can get our knees out more in that sumo stance to be able to get more upright for the starting position. The main activation drill that we're going to go over is going to be looking at activating your glutes. That is one of the main muscles that is used for sumo deadlift, and it's really important for getting those knees out far and being able to keep them there during the lift. So what we're basically going to do is we're going to grab a really, really heavy band to put around our knees. We're going to lay on our side, doesn't matter which side you start on, and essentially we're going to be doing clams or oysters, whatever you want to call them, and we're thinking about driving our hips forward and opening up our hips at the same time. So you should almost feel like your hips are going to cramp and your glutes are going to cramp every time you're doing this. So we're driving forward, knees bent at 90 degrees and opening up as far as you can. Just do about 5 to 10 reps each side, but make sure it's about a maximal contraction every time. Don't just go through the movement. Make sure you're really, really trying to open up those hips and get the glutes firing. One thing to make sure you're doing when you're doing this exercise is keeping that bottom knee on the ground. You don't want to be rocking back and having this knee come off the ground. You want to keep that knee glued to the ground, keeping those hips forward and your feet touching the whole time. You don't want to let them come up like this. Keep them touching, drive those hips forward, squeeze, 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 and back down. Now that we've done the mobility and activation, we're going to look at the actual technique of the sumo. So we're going to start with our feet at the setup. We're going to be, for me, about shins even with this first rung in the bar here. And from here, my toes are going to be pointed out probably about 30 degrees. You can go a little bit farther or closer depending on what's comfortable for you, but this is where I prefer to set up. From here, you're just going to go arms straight down in front of you and squat down, hips back. And what we're going to do from this position is we're going to bring our hips as close to the bar as we can, knees out. We're thinking about pressing through our big toes, pushing our feet out, and you're going to feel a lot of tension in the back of your hips here. And this is going to be our pulling position, chest up, pushing out through your feet as hard as you can, coming up, nice and slow on the way down. The emphasis on this is I want you guys to think about driving those feet outward and you're pushing the ground away from you. You're not pulling the bar off the ground, you're just pushing your feet into the ground and you're coming up. There we go. My face. Thank you guys for watching our strength series. If you guys enjoyed the content, make sure to please leave a comment below. If you guys have any recommendations or suggestions for what you would like to see next, we're going to be putting some polls up on Instagram of what types of series we're going to be doing next, so make sure to leave your input there. Try out a lot of these tips and techniques to see if it helps you improve your strength lifts and progress longer in your lifting career. Again, if you guys want more nutrition and workout tips, I post a lot of content on my Instagram for training tips and techniques. Make sure to follow that, and we'll be putting a lot of content up soon. Again, thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned for more videos. Man, I'm gonna cramp up. Oh, God. Is that concise enough?